Okay, it's starting.
Okay, so this is a story about my Grandpa Great and my Grandma Great. I don't really know why we call him Grandpa Great. I like to think because he was a great man, and we've just always called him Grandpa Great. Anyways, during World War II, he had to serve, and a couple months before he left, he married the love of his life, or as I know her, my Grandma Great. Right before he left, my grandma told him that she wanted a baby, that she wanted someone to keep her company while he was gone, and in case anything were to happen to him while he was gone, she would have a part of him forever. My grandpa, being a stubborn old fart like he was, he told her no. And my grandma just told him, well, I really have the say to that. And sure enough, right before he left, she found out she was pregnant. So my grandpa was stationed in Iceland, and rumor had it that the enemy was afraid to go there because of the name Iceland. They didn't realize that it was actually really green and it actually had decent weather. The job there that his group had was to plan attacks for the troops over in Europe. They were in charge of finding the bathed weather. Bathed weather meant was the weather that came through Iceland would a few days later be in Europe. So it was really good to plan attacks throughout, the weather. So if it was stormy, it would be stormy in Europe, and they would let the troops know, and they would plan attacks when it was stormy. And anyways, my Grandpa Great wrote my grandma every single week. He did not miss a single week. My Grandma Adams, his little girl, the one that my grandma had while he was gone, still has all the letters. But anyway, he wrote her every single week, but he was not allowed to tell her where he was stationed. It was against all the policies. He was not allowed to tell her. So one week, they checked the mail, and that was partially why. They checked the mail each before every letter was sent out. They'd check the letters, so they didn't know. But my grandpa was clever, and one week he wrote in a letter and he told my grandma that he wanted her to read a specific poem. He said the poem would tell her how he felt about her. And so when my grandma got this letter, she found the poem and she read it over and over again. And the poem wasn't what she thought it would be. She thought it'd be romantic, but it wasn't. And so she just read it over and over again, and it finally clicked to her that it was a poem about Iceland. My grandpa told her to read the poem, and she realized that he was telling her that he was safe and telling her where he was stationed. And that meant a lot to my grandma. Anyways, my grandpa was gone away to war for 3.5 years. He never got to go home for a visit. Not once. He was away from my grandma for 3.5 years. Meaning he didn't meet my grandma, my dad's mom, for 3.5 years. She was 3 years old. But my grandma never missed a week in writing him back. She loved him so much, and she waited patiently for him. And when my grandpa finally did get to come home after those 3 years, my Grandma Great had no idea he was coming home. So she was sitting, I think she was with her mom and her sister and they were sitting in their house, and in walked my grandpa. My grandma was so shocked that she passed out. She hit the floor. She was out. She was so happy and so grateful to have him home. And ever since, my grandpa and Grandma Great were never separated for longer than 2 days at the most. Excuse me if I start crying. After my grandma died, he lost his spark, his spunk, and he longed for the day to have his Donna, the love of his life, back. And so for 5 years, it was just really sad. But 2 years ago, he died, and my grandma told me when he died, he went very peacefully, and there was a smile on the face, and we all like to think that she was there. But my grandma and Grandpa Great, to me, is a true love story. So, he always tells the story